In aviation, there's something called the 1 in 60 rule. For every 1 degree you're off course, you'll end up 1 mile off course after traveling only 60 miles. Fly from New York and you'd miss Tokyo completely, ending up 112 miles away in the Sea of Japan somewhere. Here's something I can't stop thinking about. Most of what we're doing these days doesn't need to be done. We've just been doing it for so long that it's become a thing that we do. I've built audiences and email lists before, big ones. But this time feels different. I've been struggling. The world's gone mad. Distractions are everywhere. Like there's so much to do, so much we're told that we have to do. And yet so much of it feels aimless, like I'm on an autopilot set 1 degree off course. I actually wrote this originally on an airplane. I was coming back from Mexico after a mastermind with 140 people, and I got some clarity, and I wanted to share it with you. I hope that that's okay. I'll share how I'm applying this at the end to my own business. But what I do with this key idea and what you do is likely going to differ, so just keep that in mind. If you ever feel like, though, I've been feeling that you're working hard, that you're doing stuff, and that you've been working hard and you've been doing stuff for a while, but at the end of the day, in that time when time slows down after dinner but before bed, you think about your day and you try to remember what you did and you can't think of anything. You're not alone. Just like that 1 in 60 rule I mentioned earlier, if your focus is a few degrees off, then over time that small deviation will land you miles from where you want to be. It's time to correct your course, and I hope that what I'm about to say is going to help. You see, success everywhere is a lagging indicator of becoming great somewhere. Timothée Chalamet just won an award for Best Actor. Here's a part of what he said in his acceptance speech. He said, "I know the classiest thing would be to downplay the effort that went into this role, but the truth is, this is 5.5 years of my life. I poured everything I had into it." Then he continued, "The truth is, I'm really in pursuit of greatness," Chalamet said. "I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats." Amen, man. The goal should be greatness. Screw all this acceptance of mediocrity talk. Greatness is something worth shooting for. It is the thing worth shooting for. Whether you get there or not isn't important. The quest is. The more you do the work you're uniquely built to do, and the less of all the other shit you get distracted by, the more you realize that it's about the work. The more results that you get, the more you realize that rewards are empty compared to what you get from work well chosen. I've been in some circles where people chase external praise only to get it and realize it's not what they wanted. But that's like ads. People need to get it for themselves to see. You have a thing that comes natural to you, a thing that you just seem to get where you wonder why, even though it's hard, you have boundless energy for it. I have a theory, and that theory is that everybody can go from okay to good in just about everything with enough hard work. With a tremendous amount of effort, I feel like I could be a decent YouTuber. But I don't care about YouTube. I've literally never watched a YouTube video start to finish, not once. It's irrelevant how good of an opportunity it is. I'm never going to be world class. On the other hand, we all have one, maybe two things that we're born with the natural chemistry to become truly great at. Woodworking, improv comedy, motivating others into action, whatever. You must find yours. And then once you do, you must point every ounce of energy and effort into becoming the best in the fucking world at it. My thing is writing. I don't know why it's writing. Writing's hard. Most nights I go to bed and I hate what I wrote and I feel like a failure, but then I'm excited to write the next day. There's nothing else that causes me that same exquisite combination of anger or frustration, of elation that writing does. It's never burned me out. No matter how hard I've struggled with it, it's never burned me out. Days where I write are better than days where I don't write. And that's how I know that it's my thing. I recognize, though, that what I'm saying might feel like it contradicts advice that I've given in my book, The Obvious Choice, to find your lowercase ge good enough. For career success, good enough done repeatedly is how you get great. That's true. Here, I'm referring to greatness, though, in a different capacity. You see, a career is how you make money. Important. True greatness, however, transcends how you make your money. Your thing is what you pursue for the sake of pursuing it, for reasons impossible to put into words. In my case, writing makes money, yet makes very little financial sense. it is not responsible for the majority of my income. It unquestionably has detracted from my earning potential, at least in the short term. And if I'm honest, I'm happy about that. Maybe one day that'll change and it'll make me more money than OTA, than OTM, than Quick Coach. And if it does, I need to make sure that I don't depend on it to support my family. That's because it is the work that matters. It is what you become as a result of pursuing greatness in your work that matters. Once the work you do becomes your job, how the work becomes viewed changes. Maybe your job and your work are the same thing. For me, they're not. My job is what makes my family money and put food on the table. My work is where I'm pursuing that greatness. So here's my struggle with all of this. Deep work in that one area, for me it's writing, pulls away from the other, which is platform growth. Writing short form for social media is something that I can do, but doing it at the same time as working on deeper writing projects like books, to be honest, has proved difficult. Maybe others can do both at the same time. Social media and deep work pursuing greatness. It's possible I'm simply not as good as them. If so, it is what it is, and I've got to learn how to do the best, though, with what I've got. Regardless, I need the platform to sell the writing, but if I focus on the platform, it'll take energy away from the deep work, and I'll never write incredible books, which is all that I care about. Here's a few examples that are jumbling the brains of ambitious people like me today. We're told that we have to build an Instagram following, but X is great for networking. But LinkedIn has a lot of opportunity these days, though, and Threads is a dark horse. But TikTok's algorithm, you might go viral. You're only one video away, right? Oh, and YouTube, that's the new TV. There's podcasts, too. A podcast audience buys, right? I think I forgot about Facebook. Facebook's still there, and Discord. I don't know what Discord is, but Discord's a thing. But also, none of these audiences are owned. Right? That's what they say. That you're building an audience on somebody else's platform, so you've got to build your email list too. I counted. I was a personal trainer once, so I can't count. But for you, though, I counted. That's 10 platforms. And none of them matter if your work sucks. Social media success is a lagging, not a leading indicator of success in the real world. It is an effective tool for amplifying greatness, but it doesn't create it. Which brings me back to that line, that marvelous line. Success everywhere is a lagging indicator of becoming great somewhere. I felt lost before last week. I went into a funk. Success left me depressed. My book, The Obvious Choice, had just gotten released. The next book in the series, The Obvious Challenge, a book about intentional life design, is in editing. And I know that I should be building platform, creating content, and networking, but I felt resistance, so I asked myself a simple question. What am I optimizing for? Which led to 3 deeper questions. Where's my path headed? What do I have a chance of becoming truly great at? And what am I willing to do realistically? Now, an extension on the third is, whatever this is that I choose, there must be evidence from my past efforts that I can stick with it for long enough to be impactful. The people I admire focus on their craft not for weeks, months, or even years, but for decades. They don't jump on trends. Pat Rigsby has been sending a daily email for 18 years. He doesn't have a big social media audience. Because he stayed true to himself, his work resonates, though, and converts. Back when I had affiliates for my programs, Pat was consistently a top referrer, despite having a much smaller list. He's not famous on the internet, but he is famous to the family. Warren Buffett has ignored tech and crypto investments. During that time, people continued to drink Coca-Cola and buy insurance, though, and he's gotten pretty rich. To be clear, you don't have to admire everything about a person to admire something. Drink the soup, spit the bones. In these cases, I admire that both Pat and Warren were clear what they did and didn't do, and stuck with it, irrelevant of whatever insanity happened to be gripping the world that day. Once you find your thing, obsess over it. Accept the trade-off that nothing you could work on matters as much as it does. Then design your day with a long-term lens. Pursue greatness in that area. View all else as supporting elements. Use them where you can, but don't measure your success on them. I guess what I'm saying is that greatness can only be achieved with persistent, consistent, obsessive, and almost unhinged focus. A focus hard to maintain while the rest of the world is distracted. Distraction, therefore, is both the problem and the opportunity. Everything big starts small. The first ever molecule to form in the universe was helium hydride. Everything grew from there. Now that's esoteric, so here's a few better examples. We only see the influencer once they become an influencer. We didn't see the years of nights and weekends they invested grinding through the silence. We only buy from Nike once it becomes Nike. We don't see Phil Knight selling running shoes out of the trunk of his Plymouth Valiant at weekend track meets. Smaller, yet dedicated audiences are faster to build, more profitable, and where everybody begins, even if your goal is to become large. This is the crux, of course, of my book, The Obvious Choice, and where just about everybody goes wrongs these days, but most need to screw up before realizing the error in their ways, myself included, sadly. Which is why I wrote that book. All that algorithms aim to do is figure out two things. Who is this content for? What does that person want? The wider you go, the harder a time that the algorithm will have feeding your content to a new audience. And so I'm calling on a return to focus. Here's a story. I know a guy who's a massive success. You'd know his name if I told you it. I also know somebody who worked for him, and we hung out recently. I finally got the chance to ask the question I've been waiting to ask. Here's what I asked my friend. I said, that thing that super successful guy did, that was 8 years ago. He used to constantly produce interesting work and new thoughts. Now he just recycles the same couple of ideas over and over and over and over again. Why hasn't this big shot guy done anything else? I asked. My friend looked at me. Complacency, he responded. And so I did that thing where I paused, because I wanted him to continue. And here's what he told me. He said, he had plans for more and has started and stopped multiple times. There's always opportunities now pulling him away. He's made so much money too. I guess it's just been so long that finally one day he gave up. To be honest, I don't even think he remembers how to do what he used to do. Now maybe that's right for him. I don't judge. But holy hell, man, I don't want that to be me. The pleasure of well-chosen work is in doing the work, sharing the work, and being proud of the work, not in it simply being done, and definitely not in any of the prestige or rewards that accompany it. Again, my thing is writing. Yours might be different. That's cool. Whatever it is, I hope that you find it. Once you do find it, pursue greatness in that thing. That means accepting the trade-off that literally nothing else matters as much. The few times I published articles this past year, I felt like I was high the entire day. Okay, I don't really remember what feeling high feels like. I smoked a lot of weed in college, watched a lot of Chappelle's Show, but it's been a while. But what I do know is that I feel like a shell of myself if I don't write. You ever feel that way? A shell of yourself? Have you ever considered why? Worked backwards, identified patterns? If ever a book that I wrote becomes a runaway success, I want to keep writing, so much so that I expect I'll largely ignore any markers of success when they do appear. Because the work is what matters, pursuing greatness is what matters. What you become as a result of that pursuit, that's what matters. Any outcomes, any rewards, they're all lagging indicators of greatness. And when they come, if they do come, get your butt back to work as soon as possible. This means a few things. It means saying no to opportunities that take you away from the pursuit of greatness. It means simplifying every aspect of your professional life, recognizing necessary trade-offs and accepting them gladly, and building an amplification machine by using timely, in-the-moment strategies on social media to get attention for your timeless, deeper work. I do think that social media matters, but I also believe 4 things. It's a long-term game. You must make it work for you. You must make a plan that you can sustain and enjoy, and it cannot diminish you on your quest to become a world-class performer. Which brings me to my plan. Now, you're not listening to this or watching this for my plan. You're doing it to get clarity on your steps, so I'm sharing my plan in the hopes that it helps you make yours, because finally I have a plan that I feel like I can stick to. Now, I don't have all the details figured out. What I do know is what my focus is. From here, I'll move fast, I'll execute, and I'll fix what's broke. So here's the goal. I'm going to write articles. I'm going to leverage social media to promote my long-form writing. I'm going to optimize for email list first, YouTube second, and everything else a very distant third. I'm going to focus on the timeless and use the timely at any given time to amplify it. a top-level view of what that's going to look like on my website. I'm going to write and publish one article, which is what I'm presenting to you right now weekly, each with the goal of permanently altering your landscape. That's why I'm calling them lightning strikes. Then there's going to be my weekly newsletter, which is 5 Reps Friday. On my podcast, I'm going to actually split my Obvious Choice podcast off and create a new one dedicated to online fitness business. On my podcast, on the Obvious Choice podcast, I'll present each week's article and host interviews. Articles to hold me accountable to ongoing production, force me to read them aloud, and help to promote the writing. Interviews to expose me to interesting people and ideas to expand my worldview. The Online Fitness Business Show will share online trainer mentorship hot seats and both feature and be hosted by our incredible coaches, i.e., focus the platforms, amplify my writing, remove me from the online fitness business coaching stuff and build up my team there because they do a better job than me there anyway. On YouTube, I'm going to split YouTube into my personal channel and a new one dedicated to online fitness business. On my channel, I'll only have made for YouTube material, presentation of these articles, and uniquely filmed content. Now, why is this? There's 2 points. You see, YouTube's fantastic for small niche-focused channels. Splitting the shows will help algorithmic discovery, i.e., YouTube is going to know what I'm talking about on my channel, so it'll show people that are interested in the stuff that I'm talking about. When I'm presenting articles for my podcast or level up the production, my video team is then going to take that video and contextually edit it for YouTube. In addition, videographers will visit me once every 3 to 4 months for 2 days or so and ask me questions on camera. They'll take the footage and create videos for the channel. And then on Instagram, you see weekly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a post promoting the new article and one for the newsletter. Other posts will be recycled and reposted, old material, the occasional new tweet, and then stories to promote the article and the newsletter in addition to the day-to-day stuff. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, on X, I'm just going to repost the article and newsletter promo from Instagram. So while this seems like a lot, it doesn't feel overwhelming. So long as the central piece of content, i.e. a long-form article, gets done, most everything else points towards it. And then people who like to read can read, people who like to listen or watch can listen or watch, and all platforms get fed by the same few sources. Key is, it's all the same content. And my focus is intact. It's on becoming a world-class writer. Everything else supports that vision. So I'll leave you with a 2-part challenging question. The first is, what are you optimizing for? And the second is, what do you need to remove in order to 10x your obsession with it? Thanks for listening. Hope you're good. We'll talk soon.